do, y'all. We're Sharp Type of TNN Trap News Network. We back in the same, like cracking the same, man. Make sure y'all like, comment, subscribe for more of the good content we got going on here at TNN Trap News Network. Good news you can use. Get now, Gito. You ain't finna get nobody's college, Gito, big dog. Hit that like, hit that comment, hit that good subscribe button for more of this good content, man. Make sure y'all get into this good news you use. I get knowledge, Gito. You ain't finna get nobody's college, Gito, big dog. Make sure you get into that. You dig me? You dig me. Make sure y'all get into that, man. It's a beautiful Tuesday. Wednesday. I'm lying. It's not Tuesday. It's Wednesday. Beautiful Wednesday. Hump day. Go ahead and get you some of that if you ain't got you none of that. I'm just saying, man, hump day, get you some of that. You feel me? On a hump day. You feel me? Hey, might as well. Anyway, we finna jump into this content, but before we do, man, make sure y'all tap into the new music and all that wooty bam. I'm not finna hold y'all too long, but I do need y'all to know about richtraphouse.com. I ain't finna go through showing that whole wooty bam. I actually want to get into some real news you can use. The story of Karmelo Anthony. I gave you guys a story a couple days ago about a young man, a young black boy in Texas who, Mack it, a little white T kid. It looks like the white T kid actually attacked the black kid, and Texas, being a stand your ground state, was warranted. You feel me? So it looked like the little dude, Karmelo Anthony, just got a free body. Let's see what's going on with this Kantiana, man. Let's get into it. Let's go.
The controversy today in this case is that this young man, he's also 17, has been released after admitting to stabbing Austin Metcalf in the heart at a track meet. They were both there as spectators, both boys in high school, their whole lives in front of them. He is admitting that he stabbed Austin Metcalf in the heart with a knife. He alleges it's because Austin Metcalf laid hands on him. He's not even claiming Austin Metcalf had a weapon or threatened.
Stand your ground state. It doesn't matter. If you put your, let's go to ChatGPT. Is Texas a stand your ground state?
Yes, Texas has a stand your ground law. Basically, it allows people to use force, including deadly force, to defend themselves without a duty to retreat if they feel threatened. This applies if they're in a place they have a right to be, and they're not engaged in criminal activity.
If I'm sitting at a football game and someone decides to take my seat and I ask him to move, at that point, that person punches me in the face and I stab them in the heart, does that fall under the stand your ground law in the state of Texas?
The stand your ground law is meant for self-defense in situations where you reasonably believe. My guidelines won't let me talk about that. Can I help you with something else?
ChatGPT said I can't teach you how to get away with that one, but pretty much you good. It sounds pretty much like you're good. You feel me? ChatGPT said my guidelines won't let me talk about that.
To kill him, etc.
You know, let me ask it a different way.
Sure, go ahead.
In the case of Austin Metcalf and Karmelo Anthony in Texas, where Karmelo Anthony stabbed Austin Metcalf in the heart after Austin Metcalf physically attacked Karmelo Anthony, would that fall under the stand your ground law?
If someone physically attacks you and you respond with deadly force, like stabbing, the stand your ground law might apply, but it depends on the circumstances. The key factors are whether you reasonably believed you were in danger of death or serious bodily harm. A court would ultimately decide based on all the evidence.
Got it. So, with that being said,
and now Karmelo Anthony has been released on bail. He was released from jail on Monday after posting a reduced $250,000 bond. He will remain on house arrest until his trial. A judge in Collin County slashed his $1 million bond originally and said he may await trial at home with an ankle monitor and 24-hour supervision from his parents or some other adult designee. And the family had set up a Give, Send, Go account, which has already raised over $415,000.
Over 415,000. Wow. Hey, black people, y'all rallying behind this one. This is gonna get interesting.
Dollars so far. I'll just tell you what some seasoned lawyers are saying. For example, our pal Phil Holloway. He says, I see people held without bond for months or even years for much less serious charges. And I've heard a lot of that. I mean, you know how many January 6th cases were held without bond?
Man, listen here, Blondie. Go ahead and shut it up with your weird behind closed doors fetish for black men. Like, chill out. Don't do too much.
Who did not.
Because you be the ones. Y'all be the ones. 3, 4, 5 at a time. Chill out. Relax, Blondie.
Murder anybody. But this guy, Delano, gets out on, relatively low bond that somebody else is paying because he's already got this huge GoFundMe account or Give, Send, Go account. And you tell me why that is, in your opinion.
Well, to be frank, I was surprised that bail was set at $1 million. For context, Dylan Roof's bail was set at $1 million for the gun charges, not for the murders he committed, not for the 9 murders in Charleston, South Carolina, but on the gun charges. So $1 million always sounded high to me. If Karmelo Anthony had a long track record, a long criminal record, then I think it would be different. I think his entire case is going to hinge on his claim that he was acting in self-defense. A jury will have to hear evidence to substantiate that claim, and they will decide whether or not there's any basis to that claim. I think, this is my personal opinion, this case has moved from a local case to a national case because of the racial dynamics at play. And it's
Karmelo is black and Austin was white.
Correct. And it's unfortunate that it seems as if many of the conservatives who typically say, let's wait to hear all the facts, let's get all the evidence, let's let the jury, of this person's peers make a decision, have rushed to judgment in terms of motives, in terms of what happened or didn't happen. And part of the reason that I've been hesitant to make certain comments on this case publicly and why I'm holding my powder is because I've seen time and time again the original narrative that gets set into the media, whether on the left, typically on the left, because this race-related crimes are sort of the province of the left. They have been. I think that's changing now. But I've seen hands up, don't shoot, go up in flames. I've seen sort of the original narrative, in other cases, go up in flames. We've even seen, even when it comes to George Floyd, people go from saying, we see the video, to now certain commentators, particularly on the right, saying, no, Derek Chauvin had nothing to do with George Floyd's death. It was the overdose. So
yeah, like they'll clearly see, like, hey, he went left. No, he didn't went left. He just went the opposite of right. Well, nigga, that's the left. Like, what are you talking about?
My thing is this: the $1 million bond sounded high to me. I'm not surprised it was lowered. The Give, Send, Go stuff, I've seen how that's been sort of painted. Ultimately, Karmelo Anthony is going to face a jury of his peers, and if what he did if the sort of original reports hold true, that it was just a minor verbal altercation and he pulled out a knife and stabbed this young man in the heart, then he's going to go to jail, going to go to prison for a very, very long time.
He's going to. That's my prediction as a lawyer, and we take on legal cases all the time on this show, given my own past as a 10-year practicing attorney at a very high level. I have no doubt that this kid is in a lot of trouble right now and is more likely than not going to go to prison probably for the rest of his life, because we went through the legal standard with our legal panel just the other day. You cannot respond to non-deadly force with deadly force, period. And it doesn't matter what the color of your skin is. What I think is happening.
But I think that what I was told that they're not reporting on is that Austin Metcalf did in fact put his hands on Karmelo Anthony, and that was a few people who actually witnessed that and saw it.
Happening here is this judge is probably bending over backward for him because of the color of his skin, because the judge is probably afraid of looking like they're being too tough. But the defense law firms down in Texas who deal with this kind of law all the time, for example, Granger Muller, criminal defense law firm from Texas, said those accused of murder in Texas will have a bail amount set at $1 million or more, period. That's what they do. The lowering of it was remarkable. Yes, he's 17. That may have had some effect on the fact that he's still a minor, so he's technically under his parents' control. But the parents know very well that this kid could be facing life in prison. So there is a flight risk. There's some sort of risk associated with this. And if what's alleged by the kid's own words here, Steve, is true, I don't know whether the community is in danger or not. Honestly, like this is alleged to be a hair trigger situation where this kid responded to some sort of hand on him, trying to remove him from the spot where Austin and his brother and friends were watching a game. And let's go with the worst possible interpretation. Austin is a racist, which, by the way, there is zero support for. Some left-wing loons got that going on X, and I hope you all face defamation lawsuits. There's zero support for that. But let's just go with the worst case thing you could imagine, where Austin Metcalf said something racist. No one's alleging that. And that Karmelo Anthony got upset and said, yeah, I'm not leaving. And then said, go ahead and make me. And Austin Metcalf laid hands on him to make him. You still cannot pull a knife and stab him in the heart. We went through the law. You, A, cannot be the person who provoked the attack on you, in response to which you used a knife. And so he can't claim self-defense for that reason. And more importantly, B, the response to force being used against you in all 50 states in the union must be proportional to the threat. And you may not use a knife, a gun, or any other means that will...
That makes sense, but we're going to see. You know what I'm saying? We're not really 100% sure who's telling the truth, who's lying, who's doubting, who's guessing, who's knowing. We're going to figure out this situation, though. Let's see how much time we got. Let's let it rock out. We're going to let Blondie rock out.
Obviously cause death or risk serious bodily harm if that is not what's about to happen to you. Here is the police affidavit in support of the arrest. Anthony later told responding officers he was defending himself, explaining, quote, he put his hands on me. I told him not to, while, quote, crying hysterically. The affidavit said Anthony also asked if Metcalf was going to be okay. Of course, he had already died, was officially pronounced dead at a hospital less than a half hour after the stabbing. Your thoughts on it, Steve?
Well, if you don't mind, just a quick digression. I wanted to commend the father here of the victim who got just roundly criticized for forgiving his son's murderer. Because we're conflating forgiveness with forbearance. It doesn't mean we're exempting you from the consequences of your actions. It just means we're not going to harbor bitterness to you. God forgave me, so I'll forgive you. And ultimately, you now have to face the consequences for your actions. And I'm going to release you of that and not let that bitterness take root in me and turn me into a person I don't want to become. That's really why we forgive. And I wanted to make sure that father got a well done, good and faithful servant from me if this topic came up. As to your question, I'm fine in a case of self-defense, like what Delano said, just letting the process play out. Unfortunately, we have a hard time doing that when, based on even what you just said in your lead up there, Megan, it is it's at the very least an irregular reduction in bail for a case of murder in the state of Texas. Number one, I think it's perfectly fine to question why. What's so unique about this? We have witnesses, we have a police statement, doesn't mean, by the way, he doesn't get due process in a trial, but we're talking about bail here. We're not talking about sentencing, okay? And so what would be unique? And I don't know how you could avoid just coming up with some of the obvious things that would be unique about this case as to why a certain level of bail leniency would be practiced here, as you did. I'm actually way more disturbed in trying to figure out what would contemplate someone to say, I want to give my hard-earned money to this give, send, go. That's the part of me, the part to me that I'm just really troubled by. I just don't understand what it is about this case, unless you're so embedded in racial identity that it's become your own idolatry. I have no idea why you would feel compelled to take money off your kid's table and give it to this cause. Okay, I mean that's the part.
Damn white people! Goodness gracious, the racism is high here. Golly, angry white people.
I just can't wrap my brain around that part of this.
No, well, Okay. Handouts to the left. You know the rest. Be better today than what you were yesterday. Be even better tomorrow, but today be at your absolute very best. And free Avenue Angel till he's free. We're gone. Aggressively white people.